Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and we got some breaking news in the Jeffrey Epstein case. Now, if you've been following this like I've been following this, there has been some hope on the horizon, right? Bradley Edwards, the lawyer that represented a ton of these victims, actually won a defamation suit that lasted almost 10 years, began with Epstein suing him, and then Bradley Edwards countersuing Epstein. And the trial was just set to begin, again, almost 10 years after the initial paperwork had been filed. They were about to do jury selection, and Epstein settles, and he writes a statement, and there's an undisclosed amount of money that was handed over. Now, when they did their press conference, they had literally boxes upon boxes upon boxes of different documentation. They mentioned people like Harvey Weinstein, slithering in the same circles as Epstein. And most importantly, Bradley Edwards discussed the Little Black Book and how that Little Black Book came from the butler. By the way, the butler, no longer with us, died. The butler actually served more time in prison than Epstein for taking that book and getting it out to the public. And he mentioned that there were other books out there, and that was just one location. Interesting. So the idea of trafficking and those allegations have been around, but now finally, with them actually talking to all of these victims, now this case has been reopened, thank the good Lord. It shows if you push hard enough, folks, things can happen. And listen, I'm taking everything with a grain of salt. I don't know where this is going. But federal prosecutors are seeking new information about the case. And what is that case? Yes, I'm not a huge fan of the Daily Beast, but yes, the trafficking crimes. The trafficking crimes are what they are after. So let's read some of this. 11 years after billionaire Jeffrey Epstein received what amounted to a country club jail sentence for allegedly molesting dozens of girls in Florida, his victims could be closer to justice with a possible future federal prosecution beyond Palm Beach. This ain't about money, folks. This is about real power and holding that power accountable and further investigating who his accomplices were and why they got immunity along with this sweetheart deal, which is absolutely insane. In 2007, the disgraced financier signed a secret deal with the U.S. Attorney's Office to evade a series of charges that could have sent him to prison for life. The agreement, brokered under former federal prosecutor and current labor secretary Alexander Acosta, allowed Epstein to plead guilty to a pair of minor state charges. Now remember, originally, those charges, I'm going to take you over to my channel. Lots of stuff on this. In fact, people had not focused in on the fact that Acosta got grilled not once, but twice. There's Frederica grilling him there. She did not do as good of a job as Catherine Clark. Let's scroll down to that one. Catherine Clark really did an excellent job. If you haven't seen those videos, there's a reason. Because they weren't really personified out there to you in the mainstream media, or the alternative media, by the way, that is barely touching this very important story, not following it, even though there's huge breaking developments today. Okay? Still very, very important stuff going on in that case. Why? Is it because Acosta was in Palm Beach while Trump was at Mar-a-Lago and he made this deal, and, Trump and Epstein did have a relationship? And right now, while Trump is over in England, a lot of people I know are going to defend him. And Bradley Edwards, by the way, let's give credit where credit is due, says that Trump contacted him afterwards and actually did cooperate with him more than anybody else. So we have to give that to him. And I do, and I constantly bring that up. He helped Edwards as far as Edwards is on the record. So we're not accusing Trump of any of the nefarious activity, but he definitely knew these people. And one of the people that has been accused of nefarious activity is a man named Prince Andrew, who right now is Trump's personal escort over in Britain. Now you got to ask yourself, with the FBI looking into Epstein again, talking to victims, now looking into the trafficking allegations, do you think that Trump and Prince Andrew might have had a conversation about that? And even more bizarre, I'm just going to go over that a little later. Even more bizarre than that, let's go back. Where is it? We've done a ton of stuff on Epstein. I mean, guys, I've got to say that I've been at the forefront of Epstein, NXIVM, and a lot of this stuff. So if you haven't seen my past stuff, please go check it out. If you're not subscribed, now's the time to subscribe. Ring that bell because, we have the connections to Elton John's charity in this video. We have the Dershowitz connections and the Dershowitz connections to Assange. This is all real stuff we've looked very, very deeply into. So once again, now with the trafficking allegations, with Acosta, with Prince Andrew possibly getting an in on this, let's realize that Barr recused himself. Let me repeat that. Barr recused himself from anything Epstein during his confirmation hearings. Let's see if I can find that video. There it is right there. So during his confirmation hearings, he was asked about the Epstein case, and yeah, he recused himself. Now, a lot of people are like, well, he had to recuse himself, and that may be the case, but how do you feel that the Attorney General, his former law firm, defended a guy like this? And I realize this is a billionaire, and that they can buy the best law out there, but it shows you that these people in Washington, especially in the upper echelons, the cabinet positions, Congress, the Senate, most presidents of the United States, what are they? They're lawyers. They know law speak. They know how to lie to you. That's what a lawyer is. He's a liar. Lawyers do not tell the truth. That is not the name of the game. It is what you can prove and disprove according to the law. And Dershowitz is very gloatful on air that he was able to get that deal. In fact, I did a video on that when he was interviewed by The View. You can check that out. And I mean, it's hard to keep the smile off his face while they discuss this stuff. And kudos to The View. They actually did a very, very good job of holding his feet to the fire. I was extremely surprised at that. And again, we're covering all that stuff. If it's not over here, it's over at We Are Change or News for a Change, two other channels that I do a lot of work on, but on this channel especially. So let's continue on the trafficking allegations. Because remember, Bradley Edwards, who beats him in court, who's the lawyer for many of these women, said there were many of these black books that would suggest trafficking. Little St. James Island would suggest trafficking. Epstein served 13 months of his 18-month sentence in a private ring of a county stockade. And as the Miami Herald reported, he spent most of his time on work release at a comfortable office for up to 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. And honestly, probably was worse than that. It was probably a lot worse than that. Yeah, if you have that kind of money and you're a prison guard or you work at this penitentiary, you don't think you're going to take kickbacks from a billionaire to let him stay out a couple hours later, check him in, get him extra food, accommodations? A man who could literally buy anything, and you're making, what, 15, 20 bucks an hour, maybe 25 if you're lucky? You don't think this guy had every accommodation in the world, especially back then? I mean, 15 bucks an hour is probably right around there, especially the wages in Florida. But in February of this year, a federal judge ruled the non-prosecution agreement, which was concealed from the victims and their counsel, violated the law, specifically the Crime Victims' Rights Act. Now the feds are contacting victims to discuss possible remedies. And remember, when Acosta was grilled those 2 times we discussed, Catherine Clark and Frederica, I think Frederica Wilson is her name, he admitted that a grand jury supposedly saw this evidence and did not want to recommend jail time. That is an incredible thing to say. It's outlandish when we have all this public information out there. Okay? Let's be honest about that. During the meetings, the government is reportedly asking one question in particular. Did Epstein's abuse ever cross state lines? And now remember, we also know that all these Palm Beach allegations, as early as the late 90s, there were other allegations that were brought to the FBI. And that's why the FBI cannot and will not be trusted by me. Period. I'm glad this is happening. I realize there are good people in the agency. This is a step in the right direction. But when we were showing you reports that as far back as the late 90s, him and Ghislaine Maxwell, the daughter of Robert Maxwell, who has all sorts of connections to Israeli intelligence, and there's books out there how he was a Mossad agent, not a media mogul, not an entertainment industry guy. how he was responsible for getting Israel the Promise software. Promise, Carnivore, the two main types of surveillance software that had been developed in the 1990s. All real stuff. And somehow she's the right hand of Jeffrey Epstein, procuring all of these girls, involved in acts with these girls as well. And she gets a deal where there's no jail time, and her and others are completely immune. And she's fighting tooth and nail not to get these court documents out in the open. Okay? Think about that. Who else is riding on these planes? People like Kevin Spacey. Huh? We know about Kevin Spacey. There's allegations that Singer was out there on the island. You know, if you read Crazy Days and Nights, and I'll say this, they're not always correct. And, sometimes it does seem, they did a lot of stuff on this. But they have insinuated that, yes, those people are involved. When we talk about guys like Harvey Weinstein, remember, Kate Beckinsale said that Weinstein himself came onto her when she was 17 years old. We know that he was the personal projectionist of Bill Clinton and would go on vacation with him. Think about that. Bill Clinton is said to be on that plane at least 26 times while he's the president. That doesn't bother anybody. That's not upsetting to people. That's not something we should look into. You're damn right it is. So I'm hoping that these women get to tell their stories, that this man is prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, where he was supposed to be looking at 360 plus years minimum, that there is an investigation to those that surround him, those that visited the island, and those that are in part of this international sex trafficking ring that involves children. Is that so much to ask? Isn't that what we should all be asking for, demanding really? And being out in the streets saying, wow, why are these high-level political and entertainment figures able to get away with this stuff? I am appalled. And guys, you know why. Because a lot of these guys are at the top. You look at Heath. Heath, a former prime minister, and he's outed as a serial abuser. And it's only whispered about. It's not really mentioned. Seville and all of his contacts in the royal family, in the BBC. Remember, Seville and Charles, big buddies. Big buddies. You think he didn't know Prince Andrew either? You think none of these people knew in the royal family what Seville was up to? Give me a break. And he's prancing around there right now with the Queen and Charles and all this regalia. But on the side, who's he talking to? He's talking to Prince Andrew, who's heavily involved in this Epstein scandal, and everybody who's followed it knows it. Guys, I'm going to be following up on all of this information, seeing where this trafficking investigation lies. As you know, I'm hardcore on this stuff. I'm bringing you as many videos as I can a day. Do a lot of work over at News 4, the number 4 a change, and We Are Change. But this personal channel is growing. I need you to subscribe. I need you to share this stuff. I need you to thumbs it up. Let me let you know something, okay? Let me show you how this works. All right? I did, I think, 4 videos today. I believe 4, maybe, I think 4 today. 2 of them are demonetized, review requested already. Now, this one's been confirmed by manual review. This one has been confirmed by manual review. This one got remonetized, but not confirmed to be remonetized. A lot of yellow in here. I got copyright disputes. I want to let people know that it's very difficult to get your stuff out there once it's been demonetized. That's one of the main reasons. And they can do so at any time. I've only been doing this channel since February 14th, okay? Less than 4 months, about 3.5. And let me show you. Remember, some of these are like 2 videos. They tell you whether they're going to stay demonetized. This is all just YouTube monetization emails to me. That's all it is. Just, oh, we're gonna censor your stuff. We're gonna limit your stuff. And listen, there are times that maybe I use some language, but that's not why they're demonetizing me. Plenty of those videos are clean as hell. So that's how the system works. That's why I need you to subscribe. I need you to ring that bell, get all notifications, share this stuff when you see it, and get out there and scream from the rooftops that we can no longer let the Epsteins of the world get away with this vile, vile behavior. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you guys so much for joining me.